After the fall of Morgoth, his dark fortress of Angband stood in eerie silence. But what secrets remained concealed within its shadowed halls? The War of Wrath had brought devastation to this iron stronghold of the Dark Lord. Yet one must wonder, did every horror perish with him? Or did his defeat leave behind nightmares that even Sauron dared not confront? What mysteries might still haunt the ruins of this once dreaded citadel? Welcome to Tales of the Ring, where we delve into the greatest legends and darkest mysteries of J.R.R. Tolkien's Middle-earth. If these stories ignite your passion as they do ours, please consider liking this video and subscribing. We're nearly at 1,000 subscribers, and together we can reach that milestone. As the tumult of war subsided, Angband loomed over the northern wastes, a silent sentinel bearing the weight of countless evil deeds and relentless battles. This was not just a forsaken ruin. It was a place shaped by ages of torment, cursed with dark enchantments, and saturated with the malevolence of its fallen master. Morgoth had been overthrown and sealed beyond the confines of the world by the Valar, yet Angband remained, a haunting monument to his reign of terror. Did all traces of his dark power truly vanish with his exile? Or could remnants of his malice persist, lurking like shadows in the deepest caverns? Even Sauron, Morgoth's most loyal lieutenant, never returned to Angband after his master's defeat, leaving many to ponder what kept him away. Join us as we delve into the depths of Angband to uncover the shadows left behind, the relics, the remnants, the horrors that might still lie hidden in the ancient fortress of Morgoth. The birth of Angband and Morgoth's defiance. To understand the darkness that enveloped Angband, we must journey back to its inception and the transformation of Melkor into Morgoth. Originally the mightiest of the Ainur, Melkor was endowed with immense power and wisdom. However, his desire for dominion led him astray from the harmonious vision of creation intended by Eru Ilúvatar. Seeking to impose his own will upon the world, Melkor grew envious of the other Valar and harbored thoughts of supremacy. Determined to establish a realm where his authority was absolute, Melkor constructed Angband in the northernmost reaches of Middle-earth. Nestled beneath the Iron Mountains, Angband was more than a mere fortress. It was a manifestation of his rebellion against the Valar. Hidden deep underground, it served as a bastion from which he could orchestrate his plans without interference. This stronghold became the epicenter of his malice, a place where his dark ambitions could take root and flourish. The forges of corruption. Within the vast halls of Angband, Melkor channeled his malevolent will into tangible forms. Enormous forges blazed incessantly, fueled not just by fire, but by the corruption of life itself. Here he twisted and marred the creations of the Valar, giving rise to abominations that would serve his purposes. Orcs were bred in these depths, perverted mockeries of the elves, instilled with a deep-seated hatred for all that was pure and good. The fortress was also the birthplace of other fell creatures, trolls, dragons, and wargs, all engineered for destruction. The dragons, such as Glaurung the Deceiver, were among his most devastating creations, possessing both immense physical power and cunning intelligence. These beings were not mere beasts, but extensions of Melkor's will, designed to spread fear and chaos across Middle-earth. Servants bound to darkness, Melkor's influence extended to powerful spirits who became his most formidable servants. The Balrogs, once Maya like himself, were drawn to his cause and corrupted by his malice. Cloaked in shadow and flame, they became his enforcers, instilling terror wherever they went. Gothmog, the Lord of Balrogs, stood as his chief lieutenant, leading these fearsome entities into battle against any who opposed their master. These creatures were bound to Melkor not by loyalty born of respect, but through the domination of their very beings. His corruption seeped into their essence, twisting their nature and binding them to his service. Under his command, Angban's forces became a relentless tide of darkness, poised to engulf Middle-earth, the corruption of the land. Melkor's malevolence was not confined to the creatures he manipulated. It seeped into the very fabric of Middle-earth. The lands surrounding Angban became desolate and barren, tainted by his presence. Rivers were polluted, forests withered, and the skies grew dark under the shadow of his influence. The natural beauty of the world was marred, reflecting the inner corruption of its defiler. This blight extended beyond the physical realm. Melkor sowed seeds of discord among the peoples of Middle-earth, exploiting weaknesses and fostering enmity. He manipulated hearts and minds, turning allies against each other and deepening the divisions that would hinder any unified resistance against him. Melkor's transformation into Morgoth. Melkor's actions culminated in his theft of the Silmarils, jewels crafted by the elf Feanor that captured the very light of the two trees of Valinor. This act was a profound betrayal, igniting the wrath of the Valar and the elves alike. It was during this period that Melkor became known as Morgoth, a name meaning black foe of the world, bestowed upon him by Feanor. This name marked his complete fall from grace and his embrace of absolute evil. Investing much of his power into the material world and his corrupt creations, Morgoth gradually diminished his own essence. Yet this dispersion of power made his influence more pervasive, embedding his malice deeply within Middle-earth. His transformation was not just in name but in nature, as he fully embodied the darkness he had long nurtured. Rebellion against the Valar Morgoth's open defiance led to an era of strife known as the Wars of Beleriand. The Noldor, driven by a fierce desire to reclaim the Silmarils and avenge their losses, pursued him to Middle-earth. Establishing realms and fortresses, they stood against Morgoth's encroaching shadow. In response, he unleashed his armies from Angband, initiating conflicts of unprecedented scale. Battles such as the Dagor Nuin-Gileath, Battle Under Stars, and the Dagor Bragollach, Battle of Sudden Flame, tested the resolve and unity of the Elven kingdoms. Morgoth employed not only brute force but also deception and treachery, undermining alliances and exploiting the fears of his enemies. His relentless assaults aimed to crush all opposition, asserting his dominance over Middle-earth. The intensifying war and Morgoth's ascendancy. As the wars dragged on, Morgoth's power seemed insurmountable. He continued to innovate new forms of destruction, introducing winged dragons like Ankalagan the Black, whose might surpassed all others. The siege of Angband by the elves was broken, and many of their strongholds fell. The Nirnaeth Arnoediad, Battle of Unnumbered Tears, was a devastating defeat for the free peoples, resulting in massive losses and the scattering of their forces. Morgoth's triumphs emboldened him, but they also deepened the scars upon the land. His dominion spread, and hope waned among those who opposed him. Yet,
entdeck deine Liebe für Gemüse mit dem Geschmack, was verdient.
his victories came at a cost. The extensive exertion of his power further diminished his strength, unknowingly setting the stage for his eventual downfall. The Valar's intervention and Morgoth's downfall. Recognizing the dire situation, Eärendil the Mariner undertook a perilous journey to Valinor to seek the aid of the Valar. Moved by his plea and the plight of Middle-earth, they resolved to confront Morgoth directly. The host of Valinor assembled, comprising the might of the Valar, Maiar, and the Vanyar elves. The ensuing War of Wrath was cataclysmic. The forces of Valinor clashed with Morgoth's armies in a conflict that reshaped the very contours of the world. Mountains were leveled, and entire regions sank beneath the sea. Despite unleashing his most fearsome creatures, including the dragons, Morgoth could not withstand the onslaught. His servants were vanquished, and his stronghold was breached. In the end, Morgoth was captured, the Silmarils were reclaimed, and his Iron Crown was broken. As punishment for his innumerable crimes, he was cast into the void, beyond the confines of the world, where he could no longer wield his corrupting influence. The aftermath and Angban's legacy. With Morgoth's banishment, a semblance of peace returned to Middle-earth. However, the scars of his reign were deep and enduring. Angband, though ruined, remained a place of foreboding. Its deepest pits and hidden chambers were untouched by the Valar's cleansing, leaving behind remnants of his dark legacy. The creatures he had bred did not all perish. Some fled and hid in the remote corners of the world, awaiting opportunities to unleash their malice once more. The corruption inflicted upon the land and its inhabitants could not be entirely undone. Angband stood as a grim monument to the devastation wrought by unchecked ambition and malevolence. By exploring the origins of Angband and the rise and fall of Morgoth, we gain insight into the profound impact of his actions on Middle-earth. His defiance and the subsequent wars reshaped the world, leaving a legacy that would influence events for ages to come. The fortress of Angband serves as a stark reminder of the darkness that once threatened to consume all, and the enduring vigilance required to prevent such evil from rising again. The gathering of the host of Valinor. As the shadows of Morgoth's tyranny deepened over Middle-earth, the desperate pleas of elves and men reached the undying lands of Valinor. The Valar, moved by the suffering inflicted upon their creations, resolved to intervene directly after long ages of restraint. They assembled a mighty host, the likes of which had not been seen since the world's creation. This army comprised the Vanyar, the fairest and most faithful of the elven kindred, and those Noldor who had remained in Aman, untainted by the rebellion of Feanor. Led by Eowyn, the herald of Manwë, the host set sail across the sea. Their ships, crafted by the Teleri, glided swiftly over the waves, bearing warriors whose armor shone with the light of Valinor. As they approached the shores of Middle-earth, a sense of hope stirred among the free peoples. The long night imposed by Morgoth's dominion might finally see its end. The onset of the War of Wrath upon landing, the host of Valinor was joined by the Edain, men who had remained loyal to the elves and resisted Morgoth's corruption. Together they formed an alliance against the Dark Lord. The war that ensued, known as the War of Wrath, was cataclysmic in scale. Morgoth, sensing the threat, unleashed his vast legions from Angband. Orcs poured forth in uncountable numbers. Bolstered by wolves, fell beasts and other creatures of darkness. The initial clashes were fierce. The plains of Anfauglith became a battleground where the earth was scorched and the skies were filled with the clamour of combat. The host of Valinor advanced steadily, their ranks disciplined and their spirits bolstered by the righteousness of their cause. The forces of Morgoth, though numerous, were driven by fear and malice rather than true valor. The unleashing of Morgoth's dread forces. Realizing that conventional warfare might not suffice, Morgoth decided to deploy his most formidable servants. From the depths of Angband emerged the Balrogs, demons of fire and shadow, led by Gothmog. Their very presence instilled terror, and their power was unmatched among Morgoth's minions. Alongside them, Morgoth unleashed the winged dragons, a terrifying new addition to his arsenal. Chief among these was Ankalagan the Black, the greatest of all dragonkind. The skies darkened as the dragons took flight, their fiery breath raining destruction upon the armies below. The Balrogs wrought havoc on the ground, their whips of flame tearing through ranks of elves and men. For a time, it seemed that the tide might turn in Morgoth's favour, as his enemies struggled to withstand this onslaught. Erendil's crucial intervention. In this dire hour, hope came from an unexpected quarter. Erendil the Mariner, half-elven, and bearing a Silmaril upon his brow, arrived from the heavens aboard his ship Vingilot. His earlier voyage to Valinor had been instrumental in prompting the Valar's intervention. Now he returned to aid in the struggle against Morgoth's mightiest weapons. Accompanied by the great eagles led by Thorondor, Erendil engaged the dragons in the skies above. The light of the Silmaril blazed brightly, a beacon of hope and a bane to creatures of darkness. In a monumental battle that lasted a full day, Erendil confronted Ankalagan. The duel was fierce and perilous, but ultimately Ankalagan was defeated. The colossal dragon fell from the sky, crashing upon the peaks of Thangorodrim and destroying Morgoth's towering strongholds, the breach of Angband. With the fall of Ankalagan and the destruction of Thangorodrim, the morale of Morgoth's forces was shattered. Seizing the moment, the host of Valar renewed their assault. They breached the gates of Angband, a feat thought impossible for centuries. Inside they encountered horrors beyond imagining, the remnants of Morgoth's twisted experiments and the prisons where countless captives had languished. The Balrogs, leaderless after Gothmog's demise, were hunted down. Some were slain while others fled deep into the earth, hiding in caverns where they would remain for ages. The orcs, now disorganized and terrified, were routed. The once impenetrable fortress of Angband had become a labyrinth of despair for its own denizens.
Die Sun-Brilliant Scheinkers sorgt für brillant sauberes Geschirr. Sun, bewährt im echten Leben.
Morgoth's desperation and defeat. Cornered and with his armies decimated, Morgoth resorted to treachery. He attempted to parley with the Valar, offering terms that included the surrender of the remaining Silmarils. but the time for negotiation had long passed. The Valar and their allies saw through his ploys, recognizing them as desperate attempts to sow discord and delay the inevitable. In a final confrontation, Eonwë led the forces that confronted Morgoth directly. The Dark Lord, once the most powerful of the Ainur, had diminished himself through the dispersal of his essence into the corruption of Arda. Weakened and isolated, he could not withstand the combined might of his adversaries. Morgoth was cast down, his iron crown shattered. The Silmarils were taken from him, and he was bound with the chain Angainor, forged by Aule in the days of old. The exile beyond the world. The Valar decreed that Morgoth's evil could no longer be contained within the confines of the world. A rift was opened, and he was cast into the timeless void, there to remain until the end of days. This act removed his direct influence from Middle-earth, but the damage inflicted over millennia could not be entirely undone. The War of Wrath had lasting repercussions. The violence of the conflict caused the very structure of the continent to break apart. Vast regions, including much of Beleriand, were submerged beneath the sea. The landscape of Middle-earth was forever altered, and many elves and men perished in the cataclysm. The liberation and the choices of the peoples. In the aftermath, the Valar extended an invitation to the elves of Middle-earth to return to Aman. Some accepted, weary from the long struggle and yearning for the peace of the undying lands. Others chose to remain, bound by love for the lands they had fought to protect, or by a sense of duty to help rebuild. The Edain were rewarded for their steadfastness with the gift of Númenor, an island realm between Middle-earth and Aman. There they would prosper and become the Dunedain, a people of great wisdom and longevity. This gift symbolized a new beginning and the hope that men might rise above the shadow that had long plagued them, the unseen shadows. Despite the victory, not all of Morgoth's servants were eradicated. Sauron, his most cunning lieutenant, had evaded capture. Initially, he approached Eonwë, feigning repentance. However, when commanded to return to Valinor for judgment, Sauron fled, unwilling to face the Valar. He retreated into the shadows, plotting his return to power. Other creatures too remained hidden. Some Balrogs delved deep into the earth, slumbering in forgotten places. Dragons that survived the war withdrew into remote regions, guarding hoards of treasure and nursing their malice. The seeds of future evils were sown, lying dormant but not destroyed. The legacy of Angband itself stood in ruin, its vast caverns collapsed or submerged. Yet it was more than a physical structure. It was a symbol of the profound corruption that had scarred the world. The deepest pits remained unexplored, filled with remnants of dark enchantments and unspeakable experiments. Legends spoke of hidden vaults containing forbidden knowledge and artifacts of power. Treasures tainted by Morgoth's touch, cursed weapons, and scrolls inscribed with malevolent spells might still lie buried. The very thought of what could be unearthed kept even the bravest from venturing into its depths. The changing of the ages. The conclusion of the War of Wrath marked the end of the first age of Middle-earth. It was a time of both great loss and great hope. The defeat of Morgoth lifted the immediate threat of overwhelming darkness, but the world had been irrevocably changed. The elves faced dwindling numbers and the sorrow of lost realms. Men stood at the dawn of a new era, their choices poised to shape the future. The Valar withdrew once more. leaving the stewardship of Middle-earth to its inhabitants. The memory of their intervention remained a powerful reminder of both the potential for salvation and the dire consequences of straying from the path of righteousness. Reflections on sacrifice and resilience. Throughout the turmoil, the peoples of Middle-earth demonstrated remarkable resilience. The sacrifices made by countless individuals, elves, men, and others, were testament to the enduring spirit that opposed Morgoth's tyranny. Heroes whose names faded into legend had stood against overwhelming darkness, their deeds laying the foundation for future generations. The destruction wrought by the war also served as a cautionary tale. The devastation illustrated the catastrophic effects of unchecked ambition and the corrupting influence of power. It underscored the necessity of vigilance against the resurgence of evil in any form, the continuing influence of Morgoth. Though Morgoth himself was banished, his legacy persisted. The taint he had embedded into the fabric of Arda could not be wholly purged. The susceptibility of men to corruption, the lingering malice in certain creatures, and the very physical scars upon the world were enduring reminders of his influence. Sauron, inheriting his master's mantle, began to weave his own web of deceit. He exploited the vulnerabilities left in the wake of the war, manipulating those who sought power or harbored discontent. His actions would eventually lead to new conflicts, including the forging of the Rings of Power and the rise of a new Dark Lord, a world forever changed. The aftermath of the War of Wrath set the stage for the subsequent ages of Middle-earth. The reshaped geography, the migrations of peoples, and the shifting balances of power all traced back to the cataclysmic events surrounding Angband and Morgoth's downfall. The stories and lessons from this era were passed down through generations. Songs were sung of the valor and tragedy. Tales were told to warn against repeating the mistakes of the past, and histories were recorded to preserve the memory of what had been endured and overcome. Dormant threats beneath the ruins. The destruction of Angband was monumental, yet questions linger about what might have survived in its deepest recesses. Tolkien hinted that not all of Morgoth's servants were vanquished in the War of Wrath. Notably, some Balrogs may have escaped the Valar's purge by retreating into the profound depths of the earth. These beings of flame and shadow, once Maya seduced by Morgoth's influence, possessed immense power and a will of their own. One such example is Durin's Bane, the Balrog encountered by the Fellowship in Moria during the Third Age. Its existence suggests that others could have eluded destruction by burrowing into forgotten caverns. If any Balrogs remained concealed within the remnants of Angband, their potential re-emergence would pose a dire threat to Middle-earth. The possibility of such dormant evils adds an unsettling layer to the legacy of Morgoth's fortress. The enigmatic absence of Sauron. After Morgoth's defeat, Sauron became the primary antagonist in Middle-earth, yet he notably avoided re-establishing himself in Angband. Several theories attempt to explain this deliberate distance. One possibility is that Sauron sought to forge his own path, free from the overshadowing legacy of his former master. Establishing Mordor as his stronghold allowed him to centralize his power and craft a new identity as the Dark Lord. Alternatively, Sauron might have perceived Angband as a place too deeply tainted by Morgoth's downfall. The fortress could have harbored residual energies or curses that even he, a being of considerable might, chose not to confront. This avoidance suggests that Angband held dangers beyond mere physical ruin, perhaps echoes of Morgoth's essence that lingered in ways Sauron wished to evade. A magnet for malevolent beings. Despite its desolation, Angband may have continued to draw creatures attuned to darkness. Orcs, trolls, and other beings shaped by Morgoth's corruption could have been instinctively drawn to the remnants of his power. The fortress, even in ruins, might have served as a sanctuary or gathering point for such entities. This congregation of malevolent forces would reinforce Angband's status as a place where evil could fester anew. Moreover, the ruins might have housed artifacts of significant dark power. Weapons, tools, or texts left behind could tempt those seeking to harness or exploit Morgoth's legacy. The allure of such potent relics would attract not only creatures of darkness, but also ambitious individuals willing to risk peril for the promise of power. Lingering corruption of the land. Morgoth's influence extended beyond his physical presence, permeating the very essence of the land around Angband. The devastation wrought during his reign might have left indelible scars on the environment, rendering the region inhospitable. Blighted soils, poisoned waters, and an unnatural atmosphere could persist, deterring resettlement and preserving Angband's isolation. This environmental corruption might also have metaphysical implications. The area surrounding Angband could be imbued with residual malevolent energy, affecting the minds and spirits of those who ventured too close. Such an atmosphere would perpetuate the fortress's ominous reputation, ensuring that its secrets remain undisturbed. Potential for future threats. The remnants of Angband present a concerning possibility that Morgoth's malice could resurface. If artifacts or creatures hidden within its depths were to be discovered or awakened, they might reignite conflicts thought long concluded. Unsuspecting explorers or power-hungry individuals could inadvertently unleash dangers upon Middle-earth. Additionally, knowledge preserved within Angband, dark lore, forbidden spells, or insights into the workings of evil could empower new adversaries. The fortress might contain scrolls or devices capable of subverting the natural order or corrupting the hearts of even the well-intentioned. The enduring legacy of Morgoth's fortress, Angband's continued influence underscores a central theme in Tolkien's work: the enduring impact of great evil and the vigilance required to prevent its return. The fortress symbolizes not only Morgoth's historical tyranny, but also the persistent threat that malevolent forces pose to the world. This legacy serves as a cautionary reminder that victories over darkness are not absolute. The seeds of corruption can lie dormant, waiting for opportune moments to sprout anew. The responsibility falls upon the peoples of Middle-earth to remain watchful, to guard against complacency, and to address the lingering shadows of the past. The fall of Morgoth and the desolation of Angband signify not just the end of a tyrant, but also the lingering shadows that great evil leaves behind. Angband remains a stark reminder of how profoundly malice can scar both the land and the hearts of its inhabitants. Though the fortress lies in ruins, questions persist about what remnants of darkness might still dwell within its deepest recesses. The very silence that envelops Angband is heavy with the weight of untold secrets and the echoes of a sinister past. This enduring legacy serves as a poignant illustration of the themes that permeate Middle-earth's history: the resilience of good, the corrupting influence of unchecked ambition, and the necessity for perpetual vigilance against the resurgence of darkness. The fact that even Sauron chose to establish his dominion elsewhere hints at the enigmatic and potentially perilous nature of what Morgoth left behind. Reflecting on Angband prompts us to consider the cyclical nature of evil and the importance of remembering history's lessons. The fortress stands as a testament to the idea that while great evils can be vanquished, their influence may linger, subtly shaping events long after their apparent defeat. It underscores the responsibility of each generation to remain watchful and to confront the shadows of the past to prevent them from casting darkness over the future. As we ponder the mysteries that might still lurk within Angband's forgotten halls, we are reminded of the enduring struggle between light and darkness that defines much of Middle-earth's rich tapestry. These stories not only entertain, but also inspire us to contemplate the complexities of courage, sacrifice, and the unyielding hope that drives the fight against tyranny. If you've enjoyed this journey through Middle-earth's history, we'd be honored to have you join us for more tales of valor, intrigue, and wonder. Please like this video, subscribe to our channel, and tap the notification bell so you won't miss our future explorations. We'd love to hear from you. What is your favorite battle in Middle-earth? Which legends or mysteries